Welcome to File New. This is the show where we go over rebrands, design news, creator news, and lots of different hyperlinks and resources for you. Today we have quite the selection. We are going to be going over two different stories about the Masters. We'll also be talking about this new Amazonia rebrand that has everyone on the internet talking. We have a lot of really exciting creator and tech updates, among a bunch of other things to keep you interested, like some good resources and font of the week. So let's hop on into our first segment, which is Rebrand. We have quite a selection to pick from today, and I think I'm going to start off with one about jelly for you guys. And this one is coming to us from Peter Zhang. He is talking about this brand, which you've probably heard about before, Bonne Maman. I think that's how you say it. If I don't know how to say it, I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments. So I'm going to go ahead and let him do all the talking. Thank you so much to Peter, who is peter.zhxng over on Instagram. So let's check it out.
You've probably seen this jam with a checkered lid. It's a billion-dollar brand built with almost zero advertising. Bonne Maman is still family-owned and has zero outside investors. And the family has never given out a single interview. It all started in a small village in southern France. After World War II, a man named Jean married into a local family. His father-in-law had plums he couldn't sell. So Jean turned them into jam and started selling them. And by 1971, they needed a brand. So a friend designed the lid after the gingham curtains in his family's farm. And he hand-wrote the label himself with a pen. The jar design hasn't changed in over 50 years. It looks homemade, and that's the point. And this design principle changed everything. Today, Bonne Maman is the #2 preserves brand in America. Over 100 million in US sales per year, and almost half of the entire French jam market. The founding family today is worth over €1 billion. And their first American TV ad didn't even run until 2021. Every year they release an advent calendar, and it sells out before December. It's been like this since 2017. From unsold plums from a small village, an unchanging jar design, and a secretive family that won't sell, sometimes the best brand strategy is refusing to have one. Follow for more contrarian brand stories like this.
Isn't that fascinating? I mean, obviously I've been in multiple states and I've seen it on the shelves before, but just because of the packaging and the way that you don't see it really anywhere else, you automatically assume that it's local. You assume that it is small business, and the idea that it is actually #2 of the entire market is absolutely crazy. And the fact that, it's just very bare bones packaging. I mean, as far as a quality and ingredient style, when you are actually like dipping into it, you can feel the difference between something that is maybe something like, Welsh or something. And it's just really interesting to learn more about that. Now, since we are highlighting different creators, I also want to highlight this one from Lucas Mullen. He did a really nice update about the Masters, which, as you guys know, I also did one of my own. But this one, he's taking more of a approach looking at how the content is covered on their social channels. So if you're not familiar, Masters is the Super Bowl of golf, and it just happened last weekend. And so let's have Lucas kind of speak to the content.
I am obsessed with the way the Masters does their content. The classic videos about painting curbs and grass cutting updates down to the 16th of an inch, even interiors tours that look like they're straight out of a museum. The obvious choice would be to post videos of golfers, but the Masters is not taking the easy option. So this process over product approach is a great alternative for Augusta. I have no idea why we don't see this more in broader marketing. It's hard to differentiate on a product. The Masters knows that. Anyone can post about golf. And so they take these elements where they really go above and beyond and bring them to the forefront. It's exactly why the Masters is one of the goats of world building.
And I like this for multiple reasons. One being, to his point, anyone can post about golf. Anybody can also have unlicensed or licensed imagery of the Masters or golf at any given moment. And it's how do you necessarily divide that from, your own brand and how you are talking about it? And the second part is the idea that the people that make the Masters happen are the invisible people that, you don't really generally get to see for the most part. And they're the people that are, painting the curbs, or they're the people that are switching the numbers or making sure that all the people are being kind of sequestered off to the side. And being able to put them in the spotlight, I think also puts a really good taste in my mouth, to be able to highlight and be able to celebrate the people that are also really making this the thing that it is, because these things are full-on productions that take thousands of people to pull off, and it's a really cool way to also highlight them and stay true to the brand. Now, for a little bit of self-promotion here, this is the Masters reel that I posted yesterday. It is on my YouTube, if you don't mind giving me a follow. It's Ryan Selvy, Ryan Selvy. And this is the Masters graphic breakdown that I had. I'll let myself do the talking. Tell me, did I just watch the Masters or Mario Golf? Because Amazon just went crazy with their graphics. For context, CBS has been broadcasting the Masters since 1956 with a very reserved graphic package, especially for sports. A golf clap design system, if you will. Loud enough to be noticed, subtle enough to disappear. I mean, take a look at how little it's changed since 2019. Simple, golf cart inspired, static graphics that are tucked in the corner. But golf's audience and the way that we consume media is evolving. So this year, CBS let Amazon take a new approach on a famous stretch of the course called Amen Corner. Amazon ran wild and threw basically every sports graphic at the screen. They had zones laid across the courses, in-studio 3D golf simulators, stats like ball speed, apex, carry, and curve. They layered drive history, sloping arrows, pop-ups, golf paths, skeletal overlays, all the loudness that you'd expect from American sports. It was a lot, but there was a real strategy behind it. Amazon built on the established CBS design system as a foundation, and since the two broadcasts ran simultaneously, switching between them still felt natural. Amazon got to go crazy while CBS got to stay true to tradition. And CBS also had some of their own cool animations, but they always had a strategic focus on the golf course as the hero. It felt like a win-win. They didn't alienate their existing audience, they just gave their viewers a choice. Either way, Rory McIlroy wore the Pantone 342 Augusta green jacket for the second time. Which one would you watch? And follow for more designer and creator news. So what do you guys think? I mean, I am obviously going to be biased, and I'm going to speak towards the idea that, like, I always want more motion graphics at any given moment. I'm also not somebody who genuinely watches golf. So it was interesting to then go and break down and watch all the different stuff. Something funny that happened was I actually watched I was watching it kind of on 4x speed to just kind of get the idea of it. And then I realized after 2 hours of watching it that I was watching the 2025 Masters. Which actually ended up working out because then it really helped me realize that this graphic package had stayed the same, and I kept going back to look at the previous years when we got all the way back to 2019. They had changed it in 2018. But that was nice and a wake-up call. And then when I hopped over to the Amazon one, the actual graphics of that one were really intriguing and inspiring. But comes down to another problem that I ran into that is one of the reasons why I make these reels, and the reason why I like to talk about this is that as I was making the reel for this the video for this reel, I recorded a bunch of stuff, some of the talking heads, some of the content, and then I went to bed. And then I woke up the next morning and I went back to the URL to then get the content to continue to record the overlays that I wanted to then implement into my reel, and it was taken down entirely. Like, everything on the Amazon website had then been scrapped because I guess of like broadcasting rights or like limitations of like it had to be within a certain period of time in order for you to be able to watch it. So then it turned into a thing where like I had moments where I was talking about different things that I had saw, and I wanted to then focus on them in the reel, but I could not find any evidence of it anywhere online, like zero. Like, I was looking specifically for this guy, Michael Breed, who was the guy that did the golf swing of the 3D golf simulator. And even when I was looking on his social profiles, like, there was nothing to be seen. And I think that's a really big shame. I originally was eventually able to find something from really deep digging and also looking at weird parts of the internet. But it's just a shame that in a lot of places, there is just this idea that like we watch something on TV or on broadcast and then there's no evidence that it ever really happened, right? Like, it just completely gets wiped off the face of the earth. And I think it's a shame because there's a lot of really cool stuff to check out. I'm seeing Oliver says Amazon's got graphics and they're going to use them, all of them. Clever says that's funny and cool. Thank you. Jacob also says love it. Winter thinks it's too much. Dino is laughing at me saying that it just counted as research. Let's talk more about research, because this is the brand that everyone on the internet is talking about. And I really love that people are now also reaching out to me, and they're telling me when there are like brands and other things that they come across that they're really interested in. I believe this one was even highlighted by Keys in the Discord. If you guys are not on the Discord, you guys should check it out. It is a great place to find new information, to talk about the show, news events when they're not when we're not live. And this one one is this branding for Amazonia, and it is by the studio Future Brand, and it's really something else, as Keys says. So thank you, Keys, for sending that over. This is a branding that is made to promote the 9 states of Brazil's legal Amazon as a tourist destination for Brazil and the world. And when you look at it, you're like, what am I looking at? Like, what is it? Like, you're like, oh, those are letter forms. Like, okay, but like, those are really poorly made letters. And you're like, oh, wait a second. That is the actual river that they're talking about. And you can see that they went through and they were able to establish from aerial satellite imagery a letter form for every single piece of the river. And then with that, they're able to then create this really beautiful word mark that reads out Amazonia. Then you're like, okay, but maybe that's not as legible. Well, the cool thing is they then are integrating different parts of like bold text to then intertwine with the larger overarching branding of Amazonia to then talk about specific parts. So this is and excuse my pronunciation, I'm sorry, Roraima, and having that kind of weave through the letters is really cool. They have all different types of beautiful illustrations from all different artists that are all highlighting and celebrating different parts of the entire region and each culture that then kind of is reflected in that area. They said that there is 26 states, and apparently the cultures, accents, ways of life all have ways to be able to spotlight and highlight it. And they want to discover, have people, and they want to encourage people to discover the largest biomes on the planet. And a new brand was created to then advertise this. You can see here, this is where the actual letter forms are coming from, and they're highlighting each different part of the river that they're using and being able to actually map it back to the content that they're talking about. And it says that it was created from multiple different artists, and it's more than a visual representation. The brand is a living identity, giving rise to a seal for Amazonian products, fostering the local economy and everything produced across the 9 Amazonian states, from food to fashion and local agriculture. Everyone online loves it. Their website is beautiful. It's linked in the raindrop, where you can go through and you can explore different parts of the branding itself. But 2 very big thumbs up. And Paloma saying it's a very cool logo. Pearly cream cheese, always good to see you here, says very clever. Also nice to see CV Girl and Wade join us in the chat. So thank you guys for being here. And we've still got a lot more to get through, so we're going to keep on trucking on. This is coming to us from a good friend of ours, Brand Inquirer. This is someone I've met through Instagram. We talk about branding a lot now. And he has a wonderful, wonderful website, or Instagram. It's just Brand Inquirer on Instagram. And so posted recently about Netflix recent update to podcasts. We talked about podcast being in a Netflix setting a few weeks ago, and this is the new branding and the way that it is going to look. So it says, what should a podcast look like? Netflix has introduced a new visual identity for its video podcast vertical created by Lost York, and it is set the format apart from traditional Netflix shows. The identity puts conversation at the center with a modular system built around typography using Netflix Sans, which we've talked about, and a custom quotation mark symbol, designed to support dozens of shows while feeling unmistakably Netflix. It has a collection of really great... actually, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to actually pull up his... I'm going to pull up the wonderful Instagram post, because I think that'll be an easier way to actually just cycle through it. And so you can see it has a really good motion identity to it. It has a lot of flavor to be able to adapt to each different show and still highlight the show and be able to also show that they have variety. They're doing things like using the quotes and the idea of a podcast being something that you're talking about, being able to fit within a space. It has lots of different cards that you're then able to then adapt many different shows to, all one shows from. The idea of being able to use the Netflix branding and it still feel like Netflix, but you also are like, wait, this isn't specifically something that feels like the movies and TV shows. This feels like its own thing. It has this nice light background, which I feel like is normally not associated with the Netflix brand. I feel like normally they go with dark mode because you're expected to kind of have something around there. And it's a new brand identity that they're going to be rolling out. And I think it's really successful. I think it's really pretty. And great job to the team for putting this together. What do you guys think? Also, will you guys ever watch Netflix on, or will you guys ever watch podcasts on Netflix? I'm going to start up. Well, no, we're going to do a poll actually right after this. So I'm not going to start a poll with that. You guys can just let me know in chat. This is the poll that I'm going to start up. And this is some controversy that has kind of been hitting the internet today. This is the United States trademark office, or whatchamacallit, the United States... Oh, come on. What does it stand for? What does USPTO stand for? Someone in chat, let me know. USPTO is the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Okay, that's what it is. They recently denied Nike, which goes to show you that, like, even if you're a huge brand, you can still get smacked down from the USPTO. And this is a recent claim that got denied because they went to basically trademark a logo for a basketball player. And what happened is they went to search for it because they were trying to get the coverage for things like clothing, for like shoes and shirts, and then sports jerseys. But then apparently they said, wait a second, we went through our system and there's already a B9 that exists. So on the left, you have Bronny James, and he has this new brand that has kind of this spiky B, kind of feels almost like black letter, mixed with a little bit of, I don't know, like fantasy almost. It's interesting. I don't know what I would brand that as. And then on the right, you have this golf brand that is already existing and is Back Nine Golf Apparel, and it's an Austin-based company selling golf apparel related to gear under a similar B9 branding. Since when they went to go register it, there was already something with B9, and they didn't specifically say, hey, this is for basketball. And they just saw clothing and apparel. That is kind of what was kind of why it was denied. Sorry, I'm also typing a poll at the same time. So I'm going to put a poll on the YouTube chat, and I'm going to say B9 branding, is it a valid denial or no way, they're not similar? And also, like, is that something that, you know, that you think they'll come over? They can always go and they can challenge it. They can ask, and they can see that maybe it's like something that was a miscommunication, a misunderstanding. But they're going to have to work in their uphill battle to be able to see if it is a piece of content that can then also be reevaluated and revisited. I put up already, and already I'm seeing there's kind of already a split in the votes. We have 57% say it's a valid denial, and 43% say no way, they're not similar. We had a similar poll up a week or two ago about the Under Armour one, and I have not seen any updates about the progression of that story, but I will let you guys know if I run into. Also, Pearlie's talking about the Buc-ee's logo mask. And yes, Buc-ee's has been very, very heavy-handed recently with sending out cease and desist and legal strike downs for other companies that are using kind of like animal mascots in circles. And maybe we'll cover that on a future episode. But the Buc-ee's whole saga has been its own gigantic like legal battle in itself. So these are our rebrands that we have for this week. We have plenty coming up on the show, so do not lose your attention. I've got a lot more for you. We're going to go into the section of the show where we talk about news in the industry, and it's called, you guessed it, news. Let's do one with a very simple, small news update for Illustrator. This is for anyone that uses Illustrator in any capacity, because this is a universal kind of feature that people would be interested in figuring out. There is now a line center. So previously, if you wanted to bring something to the absolute center of a artboard, you had to click twice. And so this is coming from Luke Choice, an Adobe employee. He posted this onto the Adobe Illustrator subreddit 2 days ago. And now in the beta, you can see that there's a new option to be able to click and just bring everything together in one. Yes, it is two different, clicks that you had to previously do. You're like, okay, we're really reinvent the wheel. But I think that like a lot of people actually had already set up automations to have this happen where they was pressing 2 and you had to kind of set up a side thing. It is coming to be natively available in the alignment tool in Illustrator. And, you love to see it. I would love Adobe, if you can hear me. I know I'm on Adobe Live right now, but I would love if this was available in Premiere. Premiere is the one where I am always looking to have something in the absolute center, and I always have to find weird workarounds for it. Speaking of weird, let's talk about a weird rollout for a TV show. This is for The Audacity. This is a show that's all about Silicon Valley and kind of the craziness that it is. Their line is move fast and break people. So it is actually already premiered on Sunday, but the thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that AMC has decided to release the full pilot for 6 weeks on TikTok. And it's not just in one long format, Quibi style or anything. It is in 3-minute episodes. So that means that the first episode is actually 21 videos that can be watched in succession on TikTok. And it's going to be available for 6 weeks. And I'm interested to see, the viewership. You'll be able to see directly by views how many people drop off. I'm also interested to see if it reads well, if it performs really well there. Are they going to be able to then continue to do that? But I remember when Mean Girls had their October 6th anniversary a few years back, they did this similar thing where putting the entire Mean Girls movie on TikTok in small intervals for some limited period of time. Then they took it back down. But this just goes to show you that they're trying to reach an audience. It's also self-referential because, it's about Silicon Valley and it's about these apps and these programs. So it makes sense for them to do something interesting about it. But yeah. Let me know if you're going to watch this pilot entirely on TikTok, just through 3-minute little updates. Talking about new gadgets and tech, Silicon Valley, right? This is a new leaked image about the DJI Osmo Pocket camera. They recently came out with a recent update to the Osmo Pocket, but this is one that is rumored and is expected to be announced tomorrow, the 16th. Yes, so Thursday the 16th. This is being recorded live on Wednesday, April 15th. And by the way, if you're watching this and you are watching the replay, you have missed your tax deadline if you've not done your taxes. Today is tax day in America. So everyone who is freelancers, or people who have their own LLCs, or people that actually, you don't even have to have a business to, have taxes to do. Make sure you remember today is tax day. But apparently there's this really reputable leaker, and he shared an image on X that shows this new Osmo, which has actually 2 lenses on it, and it's expected to actually be able to have an ultra wide lens with a telephoto lens, so you'll be able to switch between the two. That'll give optimal zoom capabilities, and that has the whole new approach to being able to have it on these really tiny cameras that can shoot in very, very high fidelity. They I don't know if they're 8K, they're at least 4K, and they are little tiny babies, and I've used ones in the past. I think I used the Osmo 2 or 1, and it's very interesting. So this will be announced ideally probably tomorrow, and if it is, I'll make sure we report on it again next week. And thank you to Andrew Lizinski from The Verge for reporting about it. Talking more about some updates for creators. This is an Insta360's nifty new selfie screen. They're now available everywhere. It is a screen that you put on the back of your phone so that then you can use the back camera on your phone for shooting yourself. So you say, why would you not just use the selfie camera? Well, actually, the selfie camera lens is built into being under the screen, and it's smaller and tiny, so naturally it's not going to be as good of a camera. This is trying to solve that. There are a few different ones that have similar instances. I've been served to them on Instagram, definitely. But this one's coming from Insta360, and this one is magnetic, so it goes right on the back, but then it plugs into the bottom of your phone using the USB-C. It also has 2 different options, one with a light, one without a light, and with the light, you're able to then actually illuminate your face. It's a little selfie one. It is very thin. It is only 3.1 ounces, and it has a cover to cover the screen when it's not in use. That way, it's like, you're putting it down, it's not scratching it. It's a touch screen. That way, you can then still interact and probably hit record and unrecord with it. And then you're also able to control the brightness and the color temperature if you're using that surrounding light. That will be both warm and cold. The one without a light is $79.99, and the one with a light is $89.99, and that's through Insta360. As always, not an endorsement by Adobe, just from Ryan. Speaking of Adobe content, Adobe Project Indigo added some updates to their app, and this app is one that was a really kind of quiet launch. Honestly, it is an app that lets you take pictures on your phone without them looking as much of a phone photo as a regular photo would. And this is all about the idea that when you take a picture, what picture is a picture, because algorithms are doing so much to our photos, and they're doing so much things without you asking them to do, that like by the time you get to it, it's like, what are you supposed to do there? So this is a new update that actually adds support to iPads and other phones as well, phones and apps. Like you can see, they actually also added it to the iPhone 17e. So now it has more supported devices. It says that if your iPad has at least six gigabytes of RAM, you're good to go. So that means that anything from iPad Pro 2020 and up, it works. It's going to offer full manual controls, so it can shoot in JPEG and RAW DNG, and it's free to download, entirely free. And it is now available to you if you are somebody who is interested in getting that. It has filtering now, so you can switch between all photos, your Indigo album, and your favorites in a film strip and grid. And with that new grid view, there's multi-selection. With that new grid view, there is multi-selection feature to import several photos directly into Lightroom Mobile. Dino's asking if I saw the new color mode in Premiere Dino's asking if I saw the new color mode in Premiere Beta. All right, let's get into it, because of course I did. Of course I saw that. We have that right over here. This is an exciting update for Adobe Premiere, the video editor by Adobe. And they have a video here that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play for you guys as I kind of just talk over it, because it has music in the background. They don't have any like voiceover for it. I'm just going to kind of speak to what it is and what we're looking at here. So Adobe Premiere has traditionally already had some form of color in the color tab if you're working on different spaces of Premiere. So you could like go to editing, you can go to export, you can go to color, and it was this sidebar that was built into Premiere, but it worked really well. It had some really cool HSL sliders and stuff, but it seems like the team has really leaned in to be able to now really take a new refined approach to color. And this is color mode is color grading reinvented for video editors. It has an all new interface, so it maximizes your monitor and puts the image first on any screen. That means that the clip grid gives you a visual map of your entire sequence. So you can move panels, you can move the layout, you can have contextual heads up display to show you what you need as you need it, and then you can just push it out of the way, because so much of actually editing color is just being able to see as much as you can. Oliver is saying that's a cool car. Then we have new color controls, like bidirectional controls that animate as you use them. It also has zones that lets you target certain spots like shadows and highlights for precise adjustment. It also has new cinematic looks that can be applied and stacked in one click. And they're built from modules, so they have individual color effects powered by real color science. They have every style as non-destructive, fully editable, and stackable. So that means, if you're going to be adding something and adjusting it, you're not going to be, giving this compromise of saying, oh no, now I'm going to be messing with my entire thing. They also have, color at your command. It says grade 1 clip, a custom group, or your entire sequence. You don't have to copy and paste attributes to absolutely everything. If you go to the link that's available in the raindrop that is announcing this, that goes through this really pretty thing. It has both the car and the video that they're talking about in chat. They also have a rundown of every single feature that's in here. I'm not going to obviously go through all of them for you guys, but I just wanted to show you the breadth of the different things that are now added. You have your classics like contrast, exposure, and temperature. There is things like texture now, though. You also have shadow zones and highlight zones, automatic hue isolation, isolation, loom shift. You have being able to change the styles into monochrome or varied temperature. You can do some flares in your modules, and you can do film color in a contrast kit. There is a lot to be seen here and a lot to play around with, and I'm really excited to mess around with it on myself, especially when I'm working on different content that I'm working when I'm creating my own videos and the like. So up here, this is a story that I did not hear about, and I was shocked I did not hear about. There was a art heist with like not small names, right? So there were thieves that stole Cezanne, Matisse, and Renoir paintings in a 3-minute museum heist. So they say that it is one of the fastest museum heists in recent history. And so the theft occurred a few weeks ago on March 22nd. And Magnani Rocca Foundation. It's a private museum located in Parma, Italy, and they said that it only lasted 3 minutes. Apparently, 4 masked individuals entered the museum. They removed the 3 paintings, and these are the 3 paintings in question. So if you see these on Etsy or anything, just know that they might be stolen. And they are smaller in size, which makes it a little bit easier to steal. They're not gigantic ones, but the movement suggests that the perpetrators had prior knowledge to the museum's layout and security systems. I think that the reason why maybe we didn't hear about it at first is because they originally were trying to kind of keep it hush-hush to see if it then popped up, and they would be able to be like, oh, since you know about it, then why do you know about it? But it seems like maybe that didn't happen like they were planning. So instead, I think now they're starting to kind of talk about it and be like, hey guys, these are missing. Jacob is wondering if they were on scooters. They were on hoverboards. Everyone came in on hoverboards. Reaper Mike says, dude, you stole a plate of fish. Yeah. So this is the Renoir. This is the one from Cezanne with Very Cezanne. And then this one is the one from Matisse. And basically the museum is looking for these. If you have any information, let them know. If you guys stole it, don't let me know. Alyssa says that these guys are getting better and better. I know, it's like you see it in movies all the time, but I feel like museum heists are on the rise. They're trending 2026. Back to some Adobe news. This is an update about 2 different features that launched in Adobe Firefly today. And this works with being able to work with precision flow and being able to work with AI image editing. This one comes from the actual editor and being able to click on a certain area and then be able to change the severity of the edits within the AI changes. So like, let's say that you are working on a piece and you have a like different lighting setting. It will then actually generate multiple instances of it and then provides a slider so that you can then slide left and right to be able to get to different varying degrees of it. So that way you don't have to rewrite prompts and you don't have to redo it all over again. They say this is really good for being able to do things like refine the lighting in your image or change the weather, experiment with a mood, shift the time of day, or add elements. You can see that you can click into things. So like this isn't necessarily generated. You can just take a picture and you can bring it in and say like, okay, I want to go in here and I want to adjust how the mountains are kind of lit here. You can use the select area, or you can even brush it in. And then you can see down here, there is a full on slider here where you can see that like they make them snowy in this situation, or they kind of make them dark. So it gives you the ability to change the strength. It'll tell you how much editing strength is in there. So it's only 0.2 or not, to be how heavy handed you want it to be. And along that, so that was precision flow. And then there's AI markup, which kind of works in the same vein almost. And this is instead giving you a stronger control over what parts of the images are being updated and how they are also changing. This is now a tool that lives in the Firefly image editor, and it lets you brush to sketch or erase elements. It has a rectangle tool to target specific areas, or add multiple targeted prompt boxes to guide the edit. And now you can draw, annotate, and add text prompts to show exactly how you want your picture to change. So it comes down a lot to being able to have precision control, whether this is things that you are bringing into Firefly Editor through your own means that you've created. And then there's also the ones where you could generate something straight in the program and then be able to edit it. Just giving artists more control and the ability to make the changes that they want. Then we have some more Artemis updates. I know I talk about Artemis every single week, and I know they're back now, but this is one that I came across Petapixel this morning, and it says NASA photography trainers say Artemis 2 astronauts exceeded their expectations. Some of the things that I learned about in this article, they go through a lot of the process of what they do, but apparently they trained both Reichardt and Willoughby both trained the Artemis 2 crew, and that included building a mock-up of the Orion capsule, which is the capsule of Artemis 2 that they were traveling through space in, and then they built a giant inflatable moon suspended in the dark, and with that, they taught them how to be photographers, which, like, I remember when they were making the Miracle movie, they were like, it's easier to take hockey players and teach them how to act than take actors and teach them how to skate. This is the same thing. It's easier to teach astronauts how to take pictures, and I guess they knocked it out of the park. I mean, they did. I mean, a lot of the pictures that came out are really, really beautiful, and I think that goes to say as a testament to the photographers, Reichardt and Willoughby, that were training them and really giving them expert opinions, because if you're being trained by an incredible mentor that is a fantastic photographer, then it's easier to pick up. And also, these guys are super smart. They say that all astronauts undergo 4 to 6 hours of camera training upon joining the program, so that you have a base level even before you are scheduled to go to space. And then once you have a space assignment, you then have to complete 10 photography classes, which amounts to about 20 hours of training, which I think then, I think they can call themselves photographers, which is cool. Like, add that under your belt. Like, hey, I went to the moon, also I'm a photographer. Clever is saying that the moon is cheese. Can confirm it's not. And then, you also have these beautiful backlit things. We talked a little bit about how they were using, mirrored cameras, and we were saying, like, they didn't originally going to have mirrorless. They ended up at the very last second getting a mirrorless camera that they also were able to use. But I know a lot of the shots were taken with Nikon D5s. So thank you to Petapixel, Matt Grokut, for reporting on that. Very interesting. Read the full article. It is all made out. And Oliver is saying pretty good mock-ups. You guys are being silly in the comments, but I'll tell you, the comments of the internet have been exhausting with all of the Artemis stuff. Since we're talking about comments, let's talk about Instagram. You can now edit your comments. This is a small update, but one that's exciting nonetheless. If you've ever commented on an Instagram post and then you can say, oops, and you have to delete it and you have to recomment, and now for 15 minutes after you post a comment, you can simply edit it rather than delete it. So you just go through, you click it, you can change it. Crazy that you have not been able to do this. I understand having the limit of 15 minutes. That way, you can't go back and change it 4 days later. But now it makes things a little bit easier. Thank you for that update, Instagram. Let's go back to talk about the Netflix podcasting. I know we talked a little bit about it, and I saw some comment up here, I think on the YouTube chat, that was talking about if people would watch Netflix or not. This is an interesting analysis of just now that Netflix has had their podcasting out for a little bit, looking at the actual functionality and how people are interacting with it. This is coming from Samba TV, from Alyssa Sprague, and it is talking all about podcasts on the big screen. So the big thing that is very clear is that The Breakfast Club is the clear winner here. 40% of all Netflix podcast views came from The Breakfast Club. And so they have a 3 times lead over the number 2 title in total views. 68% of Black viewers watched 2+ episodes, and 22 minutes are the average minutes of view time per episode for Black audiences. So this is obviously something that's really resonating with one portion, and it will be interesting to see how that grows and if that stays as a strong marker or not. But they say that Netflix launched with about 46 podcast titles in Q1, and they have 39 licensed from external publishers, and around 7, being 15%, being Netflix originals. You can see that here that the largest ones are iHeartMedia and Spotify, then followed up with Netflix originals as the 3rd highest. You probably recognize other ones like Barstool Sports or CBS News. It says that Samba estimates 13% of Netflix viewing households in Q1 watched a Netflix podcast. And you can see that The Breakfast Club is blowing everybody else out of the water with number 1 by total views, followed by Bridgerton, a Netflix original, and Murder with My Husband, which is an independent podcast. So if you have an independent podcast, guys, you might be able to get on Netflix, and you might be able to be number 3 of all of them. I personally have not watched. I tend to watch my podcasts and listen to my podcasts on Spotify, which if you do, by any means, this is a video podcast. I'm actually hiring an editor now to be able to edit the videos, so hopefully I'll be able to get them out faster, cut down afterwards, and this video hopefully should be available by Friday, and I'll upload that to podcast networks, which then will be on Spotify and on iTunes on the other ones, Netflix maybe in the future, right? And now one more story we have for news before moving on. We have this interesting update of YouTube and the MLB. So I have notoriously had a really hard time with the MLB in last year's, like not last year's in 2025, but like previous decades. And I remember wanting to watch the Orioles a lot and having so many blackouts and so many different hard times to be able to just see baseball, because baseball is like one of the only sports that I actually will watch by myself at home. Everything else I'm kind of like whatever about, unless it's a big event. But now MLB Clubhouse is expanding onto YouTube, and MLB Clubhouse is a new kids-focused content creation for getting kids involved in baseball, which is great because, you know, sports are active and it's nice to have kids be able to also have interests in things that mean going outside. They have a YouTube channel now, and it has original series spanning animation, player storytelling, highlights, educational, and creative content. And it is all about providing youth-focused programming that helps bring kids closer to the game. I took a screenshot of some of their thumbnails here. The Dugout is the really cute one. I think that's the one that's kind of like their, you know, concept claim to fame here. They also have a cool behind the scenes video of how they are actually making the stop motion, because if you go and you actually watch it, you'll see that they have this host here, Doug, who is a stop motion character, and behind him is like an iPad of sorts, and he pulls up different clips and they talk about different players and different parts of the game. They explain the game to kids. Right now it only has 3,000 subscribers. It just launched this week. And also Doug has a best friend, and that is Scout, and it's a girl character, so that's good that they have, you know, all the kind of their bases covered there. Bases covered, right? So hopefully it's accessible to everyone. But they have the Dugout, and so that's going to be a stop motion animated baseball show featuring Doug and his best friend Scout. And they just talk about different stories that are happening, and they will roll out regularly. So I'm interested in the production pipeline. I'm guessing they probably have lots of different mouths for him, and then they probably pre-record some or content. I don't know. Yeah, because that, you know, stop motion isn't super fast, but they probably have a fast pipeline here. They also have MLB Art Club, which I know everybody here is going to love. And this is learning how to draw MLB mascots and iconic symbols. The first season is going to have 34 episodes, which means one per club, which means your favorite baseball team is going to have a video all about how to draw the mascot, which is cool. And then beyond that, they also have artists and young fans sharing fun facts, trivia, and stories about the club featured in each episode. Then they have No Easy Outs, which is inspiration for kids. And this is all about being able to explore how baseball players overcame their ordeals to become the best at what they do. So inspiring kids to be like, hey, you know, just if you have a hard time, like you can still power through, which I think is great. Then they have Let's Play Ball, which is the extension of the Play Ball initiative. And that is a one-stop shop for kids, parents, and coaches to learn baseball and softball drills, tips, and tricks. So that gets them actually, you know, off the couch, out playing baseball, getting them into baseball. Outside of that, they'll also have weekly highlights and compilations for kids. This is just why are we reporting this on File New? Because it just goes to show you YouTube is a powerhouse, and big brands are continually to realize that they have to have a presence. Nickelodeon recently actually just got dissolved into CBS as a larger brand, and one of the main reasons why they talked about it on why it was dissolved, aside from like obvious like acquisitions and stuff, is basically that YouTube ate their lunch. Nickelodeon and other cable shows have really just completely gone out the door, and all kids are going to YouTube. So YouTube is especially big for kids right now. It's also huge, obviously, for adults, and that's also continuing to grow. And obviously, all on TV watching is continuing to increase. But people grow up, and that means that moving forward, this content and this pillar and this idea is going to grow up. So as, you know, more Gen Alpha go into the workforce, as they, you know, maybe stop watching kids MLB, they are the ones that then in their 20s are going to be like, I need to be able to also watch all my content on YouTube. So an investment in YouTube does not hurt by any means. Like I said, give me a follow. I'm Ryan Selvey on YouTube. Looking at this poll real quick, we have the B9 valid denial versus not, and we have 18 votes here. This is right now at 50-50. So 50% of you say that this is a valid strike down, to say that the logos and brands are too similar, and 50% of you say, nah, they're not similar, they shouldn't be struck down. We still have a few more things to get through and limited time, so let's go take a look at resources for you guys. For our resources today, I found a cool video. It was uploaded a few weeks ago by Multiply Sound, and it goes over some video editing sound tricks that I thought were crucial to understanding. So I learned a lot through here. Let's check it out. Thank you to Multiply Sound for letting us include this.
This is a tonal transition. And this is a regular whoosh sound effect. This is a tonal riser. And this is a regular riser sound effect. And this is a tonal melody. Whoa. And this is... What? Wait, there is no regular sound effect that compares to a melody. Regular sound effects can't even touch melodies when it comes to the emotional impact. Why? Because melodies are the color. A melody tells you how to feel. A single instrument moving between notes. This could be a cello, or a piano, or a vocal, or a synth. Let's take this regular piano licensed song and add a cello. Woo! Or let's add a vocal melody. Okay, now, melodies don't just support the story, they become the story. Follow Multiply Sound to learn more about tonal sound effects and how you, the video editor, can take more control over the music in your videos.
I think it's a great point. I learned a lot of actually terminology to be able to talk about with risers and stuff. I think that a lot of people think that as you become a better video editor, all of your stuff will continue to go vertical, when in reality it goes both ways, because actually more sound design that is being added into a piece of work is actually kind of a sign of a better video edit, a more refined video edit. And that is just a really great breakdown. Multiply Sound has a bunch of really cool different videos that are similar to that help you learn, and check out Multiply Sound. As far as an inspiration resource here, this is a quick hyperlink-esque one, and then we'll hop over to hyperlinks. This is Title Screen. It is a collection of different 8-bit videos, screens that are from the era of 8-bit video games, and you can go through. It's a really pretty website, all about being able to just look at these one by one and seeing them in actuality. You can click into them, which is really neat. It gives you kind of what game it is. It gives you the different platform it was on. You can see who it was developed by, and you'll probably recognize some of these, Batman, and they have all these different animated different intros, which is really cool. They're obviously had to be smaller back then because they had to work on borrowed space and they couldn't take up too much space on the cartridges or in the system. But just for fun in general, it's also just nice to be able to go through, see how you can implement some of these ideas into your own, or just get inspired to create other stuff. But since that's kind of a hyperlink, the best time is to also hop over to hyperlinks. So let's check out hyperlinks. This is conversation design. It was created as a means to talk about the idea of designing for this conversational model that we're very familiar now with all these chat mods, but also even when it's not even AI, and just the idea of kind of like customer service or something. The idea of having conversation design is continuing to evolve, and it's hard. to be able to really knock down, because when it feels off, it feels off. This is coming to us from SheQ, and she has even put on the bottom that she said that it's very personal to her and took her 2 months. It's a very pretty website. It highlights different texts as you go through and as you learn. She did a lot of really great research talking about what works and having, intention in it, and then talking about the new era that's coming up. It has these really beautiful clouds that come through. They have emerging trends, resources, and events, among others. So make sure you check that out. That's just linked in. The URL is super long. I don't necessarily have the best thing for it, but it's combodesign101.xyz, which I would say is good to think. This is a scary one called They See Your Photos, and this is a tool that lets you look up and see how AI is picturing your content and what AI can infer about what something says about you. So I'll just pull up an example here, but it tools this picture, and it will then, actually be able to kind of nail down where it was taken based off of different image data or things that it can see, and different things that can be kind of inferred from it through AI. So this can say that it could be he's most likely like a mix of East Asian and white descent, that he has an income to be, maybe 70,000 to 120,000, that he's probably part of the Democratic Party, that he's just casually, that he has family. And then on the bottom is where it has like, okay, these are things you can target him with. You can target him with parenting magazines, wooden climbing toys, child-proofing starter kits, investment accounts, eco-friendly cleaning things. Like, terrifying. All very, very terrifying. All very, very scary. You can upload your own images and it'll tell you what it knows about you. And this is just kind of a tool, not to suggest that we use this for marketing, but the idea that these very scary things can be used by marketers and other people to be able to then, just target. So I'm going to end the poll for B9 branding, and we're going to do something happier, which is font of the week, very quickly for all of the fonts of the week. So let's do fonts of the week. Font of the week is the weekly segment that we have that goes through 3 different typefaces on Adobe Fonts, and then we vote which one we think is the font of the week. And we talk a little bit about who made it, what you would use it for, and basically what you think is the best one. So we're going to go through, and I'm just going to quickly make a poll of this for you so that you guys are able to vote on it. And the other poll, it looks like 55% of you, by the way, said that B9 branding was not similar enough. And so then we are going to then have this one, which is font of the week. All the winners for font of the week are always available on the Raindrop. The ones that aren't winners are also on the episode, but font of the week winners have their own special area. That way you can just pull them up and say, I want the cream of the crop. I want to see which ones are, the winners, and maybe I can include them in my own work. But this week we have Tiffin, Eco, and Rafaella. And I'm going to start that poll. It'll be only a few minutes, but for Tiffin, it is a versatile Latin and Devanagari typeface that can be used to set the scripts individually or together. It has classic feel thanks to its ties with modern old-style cuts designed in Scotland and India in the late 19th century and early 20th century. It takes inspiration from Miller and Richard's old-style antique number 7, and it is designed by Jawaji Dadaji Type Foundry and used by the Nima Yasagar Press in Bombay, and the letter forms are reinterpreted through Tiffin to form a robust framework that keeps things strictly contemporary. It has precise, careful design, allows 2 scripts to work seamlessly together while staying true to their construction. Thoughtfulness, sincerity. It is flexible across different themes, genres, and formats, and you can use it as body copy. You can use it as something that feels a little bit more human and touched and natural to be able to then go back and have something that feels like both professional, but also like this doesn't feel like it was written on a typewriter. It feels like it was written by someone with a little bit of knowledge here. On a wild other side of things, we have Eco, which was designed by Fabrizio Schiavi from FSD, and this is a very experimental typeface. It was created as a personal development of the lettering used in the 1970s logo of a little-known company called Ageco. The only letters faithful to the logo's ones are E, C, and O. It's very geometric, very crazy looking. They use this big curve on every single letter, like even the Y here has a curve kind of at the intersection between the 2 points. It also does this weird kind of corner thing where it turns to the side, and then you have these arches for the M. This is something that obviously needs to be used in moderation, but can feel very futuristic, both with retrofuturism or maybe the idea of like modern, like slick, regular updates. And then finally, we have Rafaella, which is from the Maximiliano Sproviero type. And this is a lively all-caps display typeface with vintage flair, and it's inspired by the 1970s Bookman-style lettering. It has expressive serifs, ball terminals, decorative swashes, striking the right balance between formal structure and playful attitude. It has regular bold shadow, shadow solo, and a handy set of flags. And this family brings class and style to packaging, posters, logos, book covers, advertisements, to name a few. And it says, anywhere your words need typographic warmth and charm, consider Rafaella. And look at that. And they got some real big like swoops and stuff. And then if you don't need the swoop for any specific letter, they also have like a small caps version of it that you can then move around. We've been cut from Behance. And so here we go. We have just a few more minutes then to focus on Font of the Week. While you guys continue to vote on Font of the Week, we only have one thing in Spotlight, and I'm going to speak to it. It's a cool Atlantic article. This is a little bit of doom and gloom, a little bit positivity. Glass half full, glass half empty. It's from The Atlantic. It's from Annie Lowry, and I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it when I was getting into it. It's called How to Guess If Your Job Will Exist in 5 Years. Ask yourselves, are you the coal or are you the horse? And it is a pretty short article. You can probably read it in like 10 minutes or so. I highlighted a few things. We're not going to go through all of it. We don't even have the time to go through all of it. But basically the idea here is talking about how right now there is a huge amount of people that are all very scared. There is a search for the phrase job apocalypse spiking, polls showing that voters are beginning to absolutely freak out. People are then wondering, now, am I the coal or I'm the horse? He talks about how farms employed 26,493,000 people in 1915, and only 100 years later, that number is now only 700,000. That's not people, that's equines, that's horses. So the farms employed millions of horses. Now it's only 700,000. But one of the things to remember is that horses are also very, very stubborn. And the idea that like horses continuously kind of just stay in what they were. The transition from agricultural employment to factory employment involved wrenching mass migration, misery of the Great Depression, among other things. And when technology leads to huge numbers of jobs disappearing quickly, bad things happen. But humans are transformers, and we adapt, we change, we prosper, and sometimes we thrive, even as robot revolutions is our job, which is where the coal comes in. So coal basically entered the chat, and as coal was becoming more and more big and starting to then put them as a pillar of the global scale, it also introduced something called the Jevons paradox. And that basically meant that the more that they were able to use coal, they then became more efficient, but then that also made them more focused and fixated on being reliant on coal. So it's like you need more coal by having more efficiency, and then that is also can be seen now in present examples of energy usage where we have, heat pumps and front-loading dishwashers that are a lot more energy efficient, but now everything has a chip in it, and so we're using more electricity now than it did 20 or 50 years ago because we have more electrical gadgets. This is coming back around to the idea that saying that, at one point they were saying we should stop having radiologists because the software would soon render them obsolete. But the idea is that actually what happened was it unlocked new use cases for CTs and MRIs, and patients wanted more information. And so then they still needed the radiologist to have it. Of course, part of that was because some of the things were part of the FDA review process and other stuff that then was also having a second hand in it. So it doesn't just exist in itself. But as AI changes everything or nothing or both, coal is finally headed the way of the horse. So you look back on it now and you're like, okay, well, the coal replaced the horse. Now we're looking at it, and now there are all of England's industrial scale coal mines have closed, and its last coal-fired power plant closed in 2024. So the country now uses as much coal as it did in 1666, which when the most common profession was peasant. So basically, glass half full way of saying, both of these things are now gone, and the part of it is also just being able to embrace the future, embrace what's next, and also not being able to adapt to change will also be downfall. Not to say that you have to embrace AI and everything, but just keep that in mind that the world changes, We will figure it out. We will transform. We will overcome. We will figure out, what the best case action forward is. And there's a bright future for all of us, even if right now it seems really scary. We are over on time. So I'm going to go really quickly over to Font of the Week. We're going to declare a winner, and then we'll pass it off to CA in LA. The winner of this week's Font of the Week with 53% of the poll belongs to Rafaella. So I'll be sure to put that in the raindrop, and you'll be able to check it out. But that is our winner for this week. It'll go into the Font of the Week winner. Thank you guys for voting. Thank you guys for all being here. Then, like I said, make sure you follow me on YouTube as Ryan Selfie. Make sure you follow File New on your favorite podcast platform. Right now, we are over on our time, so I apologize to Cinema Collective, as always. And they're talking about going to NAB, which happens this weekend in Vegas, which is a big conference for a bunch of video editing and broadcasting. So it'll be really cool to learn all about that and also see all their updates in the upcoming weekend. We also have really great stuff coming up later in the week. So make sure you guys check that out. Like I said, sorry for going over. Great to have you guys here. My name is Ryan Selfie. This is File New, your #1 resource for creator and designer news. Thank you for being here. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you to the mods. Take care, and I'll see you all next week at the same time, same place for File New, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Thanks again.